7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's start right out. Hey, what happened?
There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Dean, brought to you by our friends at Easy Auto Financial. Easy Auto Financial, getting you in a car. Doesn't matter your credit rating. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Check them out today. Turnkey. Doesn't matter about your credit rating. No obligation either. Totally free to try. Our friends at Domination, DMNTN.com. Try them for free today. If you do content, these guys make it easy every day. DMNTN.com. And, of course, Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch. Order from Ed today. Gitch3 is your promo code, edsfineimports.com. Let's bring in the shoe. Let's make the shoe drop. Let's make this happen. Let's get the show on the fucking road, everybody. Please welcome to the program James D. Fiore from Blackballed Podcast, Ryan Lindley from the Sheeple Shepherd Podcast, both from DeanBlundell.com and Blackballed.
I'm running out of things to do.
Blackball Media? Yeah, well, you can just do whatever. I never know what to do with my hands on this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like
pick one thing and go with
barrel.
Usually it was a salute, but
I usually put them around my face.
Yeah, that's
smell my fingers.
Fuck, good for you. Lachlan Cross from 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. How are we today, Lach? How you doing, bud? Your face looks red. It looks like you've been running around. Looks like you've been busy.
I am not going to lie to you. I actually had a very stressful morning. So what I've been doing lately, I've sort of changed my routine. I fuck off from work like right away. Like I blast out as soon as we're done.
You done
if
at
the
9
boss
a.m.?
doesn't. No, we go till 10. The boss will sometimes want to meet, and so we'll sit down, have a quick little chat, and then I'll throw the midget in the front seat and we fuck off, and I drop him off at home. And then I got a little more time before the pod, right? Because what I was doing is I was working at home. And then this morning I'm on my way home and the wife calls and goes, "You should hit Costco. People are like, there's panic shopping again." And I'm like, fuck. She goes, "Yeah, just hit Costco and I'll send you a list and you grab a couple of things," right? So I didn't tell her I was already going to Costco to get beer. But so she sends me a list and I walk in and it's packed. And there's a horde of people around the toilet paper. I managed to get one and it's happening. People are freaking out a little bit. So I just got some basics. Like I got 6 48 packs of beer and some eggs and some cream.
That's pretty basic
for my coffee. And
but did you have a list? Like, did she send you with a list, or were you going to Costco anyway to get
batteries,
your bridge pack and your? But this is from the flooding in BC, right? Because everybody's fucked. We had my brother on yesterday. He's in Chilliwack, and the supply chain's going to be messed up. Is this how far it's gone already? Like, it's already, the panic has made its way from fucking BC and the Lower Mainland to Alberta. Seriously,
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what precipitated my wife to call me to get me to go and grab a couple of things. But some conversation or something she saw on Facebook or whatever.
She's probably listening to another morning show, and they probably had information on that morning show, and they were like, "You should probably go and get some toilet paper,
because it was
cucumbers and batteries. Otherwise,
we talked about Tiger King all morning."
Which is probably why she was listening to another radio station.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen Tiger King season 2 yet? Have you guys started watching it?
I started watching it.
I didn't.
It
know.
is.
I gave up on season 1.
Bud, you got to go back to watch season 1 and then get into season 2, because the big fucking fuck you for everybody that watched the Tiger King, like the draw for them was like, this is immoral. We should. People that watched it, they're like, I can't believe that those people are getting wealthy off of all that terribleness and the things they do. That's just immoral. This is wrong. I'm not watching the show. If you thought that when you watched Tiger King 1, season 2 is way worse, because
that'll send you into a tailspin.
It's guys taking all the money they got from being complete degenerates and showing their degeneracy on Netflix, riding around on fucking jet skis. Like, it is unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I was going to give up on it. I watched like 15, 20 minutes of it last night. And then this morning, Grant got like 2 episodes in. And he's like, no, don't give up.
Don't give up. Keep going. It is so good. It is so good, because what they're trying to do in this season of Tiger King 2, what they're trying to do is show everybody how wealthy everybody's become because of this, and
Yeah.
all the wonderful things they have and the things that you don't, even though you're paying for a Netflix subscription. It is one of the greatest troll jobs for television series you'll ever see in your life. It is fucking
Didn't the
awesome.
lady,
Isn't
didn't the lady
actual
that it was all
Tiger
about?
King- Isn't the actual Tiger King in prison or something?
Joe
Exotic.
Yeah.
Exotic is in.
And didn't the lady they always talk about? Didn't she sue the production? And
Harold Baskin.
That's the one,
was
yeah.
Unsuccessful because what she said was she didn't give them permission to use anything for a second season. She's claiming that when they approached her the first time, that Netflix came and said, "Hey, we're doing this documentary," they sort of led her to believe that it was going to be a show to help her
Of
like
course.
go after the
I
Tiger
smell a
King,
producer.
Joe
Right.
Exotic, right? And then it just ended up being a hit piece on her. Like
Yeah.
if you
Nice.
were 2 or 3 episodes into that first season, to a man, pretty much everybody on the planet was just convinced she killed her husband, right?
Yeah. And fed him
And-
to her pet lions, right? That's why there
Yes.
was never any because
I
her first
still believe
husband
it.
split. Who knows? I mean, fuck.
He disappeared. He's missing.
Yeah, but you can't, dude. Did
Clever
you see her?
editing will make you believe anything.
Did you see her teeth?
James.
Did you see her teeth? How yellow they were? It's like she brushes them with fucking mustard. Like it's the guy didn't need, and she's so gross and sweaty looking. The dude didn't need like to be eaten by a lion to have a reason to fucking split on Carol Baskin.
Maybe he was
Okay, but
suicide.
why hasn't he
fed
like
himself to the
reared
lion.
his ugly head since the
She was
production?
so gross.
Yeah.
He
He's-
jumped into the lion cage.
He killed himself.
Well,
It's either that or spend the rest of my life with this woman. Fuck it. Come on, Fluffy. Dinner time.
I'd rather feed my
Get the
can you
tuna
imagine
cans.
that? I'd rather feed myself to lions than be married to this woman with yellow teeth.
Yeah.
And he did.
I'd flip a coin at least.
no, he got
It's-
bonked on the head and dragged in there. I'm
You don't
telling you
know
right
that.
now, she totally killed that man.
You don't know that. You can't
I
say
totally
that.
know that. I can say that. I totally can say that, and I am not alone. Everyone who watched that got
You're
through
ta-
it.
No,
thinks
what do you mean you're not
exactly the
alone? You're
same
just
thing.
part of that conspiracy
No.
theory where you
Yeah.
felt
No.
bad for Joe Exotic because he put it on for everybody. He's like, I can't believe that the
I
put me
can't
here
believe
after I
you
tried
two
to take a hit
assholes
out on
didn't
him."
watch it.
No.
No, well, I
What?
watched half of it, and what I'm thinking right now as you're talking is like, you're either producer's wet dream or you're an associate producer of the show because you are saying exactly what they want, right? This is
Listen.
why people watch the show.
James,
Right.
I will tell you this. I am embarrassed that I watched that show.
You just
But
lost
you
your
say it with
I'm
such gusto.
embarrassed. I am embarrassed that I wanted to watch season 2. I thought I was done with it. Grant sent me the trailer and he goes, "You need to watch the
You
trailer."
have to watch
and I
it.
watched the trailer and I went, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna watch
back
season
in.
2. God damn it. I'm invested again.
But
You
first,
are.
I have to go to Costco and buy 288 beers and some shit tickets.
Right.
So I can get through this whole fucking season of Tiger King 2. I'm amazed there's a Tiger King 2. One of the great parts about it too is like it starts with them like the Joe. It's they incorporate the insurrection into it too. Like they start.
Wow.
They show up with a big Joe Exotic banner to the insurrection because they think they'll have a lot of fans there. And this woman comes up to them and just starts calling them gutter sluts, fucking losers. It's a Joe Exotic. This is our fucking country. And they're like, oh, I guess we'll roll the banner up and we'll fucking take off.
Yeah, wasn't there a QAnon thing saying that Trump was going to
yeah.
let him go or something or pardon him?
They sent a
or-
limo.
Yeah.
It wasn't a QAnon thing.
No, it was this lawyer
a
that they
large
had who
group
was
of fans.
convinced. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lawyer that got some fans.
trying
and
to
had
get him
people
out.
donate.
They
Yeah, it
sent
was
a
like-
limo on the last day that Trump was allowed to give out pardons, and the limo driver's just like sitting there, and all of a sudden he's like,
You
and
can
he
go.
puts on the meter and one drives away.
I swear to God, I'm not a religious man, but I was praying that Trump on his last day pardoned
Let him
Joe
out.
Exotic.
Could you
Yeah.
imagine that was
Like,
the
the
only one?
list-
Yeah,
of all
I
of
can
his
easily
buddies.
imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then and Joe Exotic, which by the way isn't even his real fucking name.
No,
if he
it's
would have
like,
walked out of prison because
Super
of Trump,
fan, Lachlan
that would have
Cross.
been the best culmination of his fucking presidency. You can't even write that. Like,
No.
it would have been amazing.
Yeah,
I don't
it would've-
know.
You
Anyway,
missed-
you gotta
you
watch
missed
it. It's
opportunity.
fucking
His,
awesome.
his main advisor was the My Pillow guy, so I can believe that he would pardon.
It's
Tiger.
true.
Did you guys
Follows exactly into his MO.
Did you guys watch the Mike Lindell My Pillow Trump interview?
No.
Oh my!
Yeah.
If you get a minute, it's insane.
What, he interviewed Trump?
Yeah. Well, Mike Lindell has a an event coming up next Friday on Black Friday, and it's basically it's to announce the return of Trump to the White House. And no, he's not kidding.
We know.
He has got thousands of pages of documents of proof that the election was fixed and that Trump actually won.
We've heard about this.
And he's doing a like a telethon, like a 24-hour broadcast, and it's on Black Friday.
Oh, I can't wait.
He wants to,
and so he did a pre-interview.
Yeah, the My Pillow guy. He wants to melt voting machines and then donate them to prisons after shaping them into prison bars.
Oh, good,
Smart. Yeah, that'll happen.
I can't wait. Remember in the later years when Jerry Lewis started losing it on those telethons? It's going to be just like that. It's going to be amazing.
So weird. It was just a
I've got the video of or like a little clip of it, but and we'll get to it in just a second. So the idea is, no offense, because it wasn't explained great.
That's fine. We usually, that's why I have people around me. Grant does this on our show.
So Mike Lindell is doing a telethon until the big day when Trump is going to be put back in the White House. Is that the deal? Like that's
on Black Friday, next Friday.
So Black Friday is the new day where Trump goes back into the White House and all the other people in the world get arrested.
I guess it would be Saturday because he's starting at Black Friday, right?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it'll be the culmination of the telethon.
They
plan on going 24 hours.
Do they really?
But he's also he just launched that network, right? Is it Newsmax, or is that his, or is it something like?
He has something to do with that. Yes,
he owns it. So I have a friend in Europe who works with Mike Lindell, and like as a contractor. Yeah, as a contractor. I don't even know what it's for. It's sponsors or for social media help or something. Anyways, and he says that there's been a lot of people advising this man to take it easy on being crazy kind of thing. Yeah. And he's just insistent. He's just like, and in order to like try to show that his network will be balanced, he's hiring like really crazy right wingers. I can't remember the names offhand, but the important part is, but not the QAnon ones. That's how he's going moderate.
Oh, good.
So not everyone will be QAnon. It'll be fine.
Well, we had a sponsorship on the locker room, and we had to do these 60-second live reads for those pillows.
Oh my God.
And so this was
your radio voice when you did it. Did you use your radio voice when you did it? Hey.
No. What we did was I would usually write
24 minutes after 3. That's 36 minutes before 4. Yeah.
And we had to do them in the morning before we got going, right? So we'd get in, have a cup of coffee, and then I would prep the guys, and we would do these 60-second. And we got paid to do it. And we got, before we went and agreed to the sponsorship, they sent us pillows. Everybody in the family got a My Pillow.
I heard their shit.
I like mine.
Really?
I really do. Yeah. Wow. I still use it. I have 2 in my bed.
You use the Mike Lindell My Pillow?
Legs.
Do you really? Wow.
Yeah, I got a thicker one for my legs. I like to have a pillow between my legs.
Does it smell like forehead sweat?
You can wash the fucking thing. That's what I like about it.
No,
it's if you ever bust one open, it's just a bunch of foamies cut up. Like
a normal pillow.
Yeah. But it's My Pillow, Ryan.
I know.
And here's a clip of the interview with Mike Lindell and Donald Trump, who, by the way, looks just disgusting. But
what we want is a strong military, great education.
He's
for
getting
our
fatter,
children,
isn't he?
A nice house to live in.
That diaper's getting bigger.
So basic.
Common
it's
sense.
so simple.
Common sense things.
And they fight us. It's very
disgusting.
sad.
It's disgusting. Well, you go back to November 4th, and we all lived this twilight zone. I always say, like, there was an old saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one heard it, did it really fall? Well, then the media tells us there is no forest. Yeah. I mean, that's what it was back in November and December. And
I know.
we were, I know. But we were all living in this twilight zone. You were living there with us. But then
the president
you had
of
all
the
the betrayals and attacks on you that escalated to a whole nother level. And Eric told me once that you said right before you were going down that escalator to make your famous announcement that you said, Well, we're going to find out now who our true friends
That's
are.
true.
And have you got my
And
Adderall?
I never forgot that he said that to me. And you know, it was everyone out there since that time.
I mean, this is I'm listening to it, and it means nothing. Like he's not saying anything. He's just fucking reliving a crazy moment that probably never fucking happened, right? Like I don't even understand. I'm so out of the Trump, My Pillow, QAnon, insurrection, Kyle Rittenhouse. Like I don't pay attention to fucking any of it anymore because it is just so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like this is just pure fucking insanity to me. And so, like, there's things that I still find entertaining in this world when it comes to news. This isn't one of them. Like, I don't find this entertaining anymore.
No, this is old. Like, it's getting old.
Yeah, the dude, like Donald Trump sitting there with an he's wearing a diaper because he wears a diaper all the time. He's probably shit and pissed himself. The guy across from him, Mike Lindell, who decided to start a pillow company and make millions, is also a reformed crack and cocaine addict, and he's also a born-again evangelical zealot, and he's also shitting himself.
Doesn't he remind you of like a less stylish Ron Burgundy?
Yes, he does.
Like great value, yeah.
I'll wrap up my Mike Lindell, My Pillow. So we were doing those ads, and then Trump wins, and then it gets out that Mike Lindell is like a total Trumper, and then he started getting all this press about his Trump shit that he was doing, and people were so mad at me for sponsoring the goddamn pillow. Half my ads were defending, like, listen, I don't like Trump. I don't know Mike Lindell.
Yeah.
I'm just taking his money. He's giving us money to whore his goddamn pillow. It doesn't mean I agree with his politics. It was insane. People were so angry at us, and it got brought up. It still gets brought up. It got brought up the other day when he was in the news. And he was
People like, send you a text and go, hey, fuck, you still sleeping with that loser's pillow?
Yeah. So
as
what do you think
as if the pillows were like stuffed with
pillow
Chick-fil-A.
guy. You're my pillow guy, Locke. I'm like, like I was hanging out with him on the weekends.
Dude, that's the identity game. That's the identity game. Like, remember last week we had Ryan Imgrenut, right? Or 2 weeks ago. Love having him on. I think he's great. I don't have the same issues other people might have with him. But I got people sending me texts like, I think less of you now because you had Ryan Imgrenut on. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you think about who we had on. And they're like, don't you? And it was a whole thread. I'm not going to go back and get it because it doesn't matter. They're like, aren't you worried about your reputation having other? I'm like, no, I'm not worried about my reputation because I'm just talking to a biostatistician about.
He came on our
stats.
show.
Like,
he should be the one that's worried about his reputation. Right? Like,
that's a really good point, James.
It's true.
That's why
it's legitimately a thing, right?
Yeah,
like people
we had a local politician on, Mike Nickel, who just lost in the mayor's race, and he was very controversial here in Edmonton. And we had him on a regular basis, and we got a little bit of that. Like, I had a buddy of mine when he lost send me a text and go, so how about your loser buddy there losing the election? I'm like, he was entertaining. I had him on because he'd say anything I had. He'd answer my questions honestly. And I wasn't hanging out with him.
I know.
Yeah, when you do stuff like this, the DMs and the tweets that you get when somebody just doesn't like somebody.
Yeah.
And they bring up everything about them. And it's like, I don't know that. I didn't know them then. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't care.
That's almost a monopoly on the left, though. Like, the left does that. That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's a cancel thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if the guy just happens to be a conservative, it's like, oh, well, you're dealing with the conservatives, are you? Like, it's become so culty. It's a real cult-like atmosphere now.
Well, that's why I think your idea to interview just like total canceled celebrities with blackball is brilliant.
I think I'd interview anyone. And by the way, that takes it back to like classic journalism kind of 1A1 when I used this example before, but like in the early 2000s when the United States were at war with Iraq and Ahmadinejad was the leader of Iran or whatever, came to Columbia University in New York City to speak. There were no protests. No one. In fact, the only noise that was made was from the right at that time. Like, how can you have a terrorist talk? But it was quiet. It was like not because most people at the time, and they still should, subscribe to the idea of I'm just interviewing. Dude, that British journalist that landed that interview with Osama bin Laden, like, what, a year before 9/11 happened? That's a Pulitzer type shit. And you can't interview someone who's got like conservative viewpoints. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. Living a weird time. And I was reminded of that yesterday. Did you guys watch the anti-vaxxers take over CP2 6 o'clock news yesterday?
What is this? I missed all this. We didn't get any of this in Alberta.
Oh my God. So you know how we had Imgren on last week and he got into it with this reporter named Christina Tenaglia.
Yes.
I'm going to get to journalism in just a second. But Christina, by all accounts, normal person. She's just trying to do her job. She starts trying to do a report on kids and vaccinations because, as you know, Pfizer and Canada has approved here in Canada, they've approved the Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11s, right? So kids can start getting vaccinated, which I think is great. So Christina Tenaglia, on behalf of Bell, who owns CP24, goes out, does a report on it, and she was interrupted by this psycho named Jody Ledgerwood, I think is her name.
Ledgerwood or Ledgerwood?
We've thrown that name out on this podcast before, I think.
Leisurewood. I don't think we have. I think this is the first time I've been aware of her. But this is just like the TV version. This is what you saw on TV. We'll get to what you saw behind the scenes in just a second. But this is fucking great.
Davila spoke about it, and Dr. Davila took a moment to reassure parents about the safety of vaccines, particularly for kids.
Did you see that? Did you see how she turned and she's like, "Oh my God!" And the anti-vaxxers like, "Oh, sorry." This is the view from the anti-vaxxers phone that she put out and she streamed of the actual event, and it gives you a clue into how fucking dangerous these psychos are. Like they're absolutely fucking off their rockers. And This woman is a real estate agent in Coburg, or at least was until this came out, and she's like full on QAnon, full on don't vaccinate the kids. But she literally grabbed the CP24 camera and went for it. Watch this. It's fucking great.
Sorry, I just heard you talking about the safety of vaccines. Vaccines are far from being safe. You need to start doing real journalism here because you know what? Children are dying. Children are dying and they have myocarditis coming down. How many sports athletes, young sports athletes, have dropped dead in the last week from these jabs? They're far from safe, ma'am. You need to start doing real journalism and real reporting.
Dr. Mario went to high school with that woman.
Oh, I was just standing behind you until you said that they were safe. Stop propaganding. Stop spreading lies. These are not safe. Children are dying. And right now, Health Canada is trying to decide whether to jab our 5 to 11-year-olds. And by you telling everybody it's safe, you're spreading lies and misinformation. How about you get real doctors on CTV and get the real facts? How about you start asking the hard questions?
So that was in a live newscast. Like that crazy broad, and she's a broad. I don't normally call women those names, but that's not a female. That's a broad. That's a crazy broad.
That's crazy.
And she
seems pretty female to me, just for the
but
record.
Yeah, a little bit. But the
down south they call them touched.
She's
a little
touched.
touched.
That's right.
But what amazed me after that is like the call for like protecting journalists from this kind of stuff when every other profession has had to deal with these fucking psychos for the past 2 years.
Yeah, nurses, doctors.
Right?
Yeah.
But then
in my mind, I'm watching that and I'm like, hold it. Like I'm reading all the tweets that people put out and stuff and the threads were all the same. If there were a journalist and all these journalists are like, that's a shame. This is a crime against humanity. We're journalists. We don't deserve that. You're not fucking journalists, and you're not exempt from this, you crazies. Yeah, just like the rest of us. And here's the thing: is that Christina Tenaglia not a journalist? She wants to be a journalist. She's trying to be a journalist. She's doing work on behalf of the company that controls the narrative in this country, Bell. So it's not like she's intrepid journalist out to get the fucking scoop and the story. She was given that to go out to that. And you know what? You know who I blame for this? Bell. And the reason why I blame Bell for this is because if that's continuing to happen and they haven't planned for it by bringing some security or making sure that the camera guys capable of making sure that everybody
Stay in the fucking studio.
That's their fucking problem.
Stay in the studio. Yeah, you know what? They've been doing this forever.
Seriously.
And as a guy who used to be kind of a prankster, I never did shit like that. It was never political, but like I remember, walking away from the camera with my pants down so my ass is showing for like 10 seconds in the frame as I disappear into the distance. I've done shit like that because they don't have any security, right? They don't, they literally just walk out onto the sidewalk and they start shooting. That's why people are passing by. That seems archaic. It seems archaic to do it like that still.
I don't think you can blame. They've been doing this forever.
That's what I mean.
And this has been happening forever.
Dude, honestly, but to everybody, like how many times have you been inconvenienced by one of these Cracker Jacks? Me?
Yep.
Dozens.
I inconvenienced
dozens.
them, but yes.
She got inconvenienced doing her job. No, she's report. Actually, if you watch, there's another part of the interview. She actually interviewed other anti-vaxxers about it. And I believe that woman was there to be part of the interview. But the second Christina Tenaglia was like, hey, listen, these vaccines are safe. She's like, how dare you tell her? Everything Jody Ledger is a fucking out-and-out lie. But journalism is exempt from crazy, man. Like, fucking plan for that stuff. And you're not really journalists anyway. You're kind of agents, right? That's pretty much it. No, my email's not up. Sorry, guys. It's just slow today.
You're choppy.
My bad. Yeah.
I don't know if it's... I mean, come on. Can we not just expect people to be reasonable human beings when they're out doing a live stream?
No, absolutely
not in a city of 3 million people.
Are you aware of the world we live in? Are you aware of the world we live in? I remember the conversation we had yesterday. Expect nothing from anybody. That's how you have to work in journalism today.
I get it, but is it their fault that there's lunatics out there and that they're going to interrupt like I don't blame the reporters or Bell. This is a thing that people do. They go out, they broadcast outside of the ledge, and they have live mics. And
that type of segment existed before the internet, right? When they saw a camera, were like, oh, yeah, they were like kind of camera shy. And then now we're the I generation or whatever, and we're always on camera of some sort. And now people are like, oh, a camera. Like, dude, again, I've been doing this. I never fuck over the reporter in the sense that I interrupt them or whatever, but there's always something that you can do to like add a laugh to the content for the guy on the street interview or the segment on the street interview. It's archaic. It's out of date now because I think it's not safe anymore because people are not shying away from cameras. They're going towards it.
That's it. Yeah. We're so desensitized by cameras now. It's like James is right. Imagine this in the 70s and 80s. Like if you saw a camera on the street, you would be mesmerized. Be like, oh my God, that's the news guy. And
people would stand and watch.
And you had respect for the news anchors back then. You had, like when things were credible and people had morals and news.
You also should be able to like
do the job.
Your feet. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah. She should have been able to
react. I would have gotten into it with her.
Look at you coming over on the side. And look
when Mike Tyson was on CP24. And remember that? Oh, yeah. Remember when Mike Tyson was on there and they got it back and forth, and he kept him going. Like he was trying to like engage him when they could have just cut it off. She should have kept her going.
I'm talking about when that guy
show us the crazy
Mike Tyson with the So how does it feel being a rapist?
You're a rapist.
Right in the middle of a fucking interview where Mike Tyson
about a play
time. On a morning television show. He's coming to town.
Like,
tell me about the play,
right, Mr. Rapist. What?
You'd think you're. What was that guy's name? He's on CTV now. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. But he's like, so you're in town for this play? What's it like being a rapist? And Mike Tyson's like, how about you go fuck yourself?
Yeah.
And they just kept it going, though.
And it was live, too.
That's what I'm talking about, though. That kind of content is invaluable, in my opinion. And if you're going to go live, you have to be ready for anything. So if anything, I think it's the reporter's issue, right? I don't blame Bell for doing these things. You know what I'm saying? And
I blame Bell for all of it.
What does a reporter do? Because if it happened to a reporter, the reporter would be sitting there and they'd be like, and Pfizer has released the data on the news, and then someone goes into you would have to be like, and we have an anti-vaxxer here right now who's interrupted this interview. You'd have to be really quick on your feet to try to figure out how to navigate those waters.
Absolutely, and if you're a broadcaster, you should be able to negotiate those waters.
Yeah, fair enough.
And honestly, any one of us probably would have. James, if you're on the street and some whack job comes up behind you, make part of the show.
He's the star of the show now.
Oh, you kidding?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Let her go.
What's your name?
You got to wait until Bruiser comes up. The Bell
Did you
security
get
guy.
your pills mixed up this morning? I told
doing,
you
buddy? You
only take
lost?
the blue
Is your
ones
name-
at 7 a.m.
Is your name still stapled to your sleeve? There it is, buddy. There you go. Right beside your
Can I ask you guys a question, James? Maybe this is for you. I have zero respect for mainstream media in this country, like none, obviously, for a multitude of reasons. Because I was in it, and I know that they're basically
by mainstream media.
criminal collusion. Yeah, but you work for a good company, and there aren't many of those in this country.
He called it dead tech again today, Locke, by the way. He called it dead tech again.
It's dead tech. It is dead tech. Radio is dead tech.
Museum tech.
But, Jamesy, your professional opinion as someone who used to walk around in the journalism world, do you
They never
think
let me
that,
on TV, Dean.
I know, but do you think that the lack of respect for mainstream media and how kind of awake people are to the fact that you got two major entities that control the narrative of news in this country, never report on any of their shit.
You got stripper music?
We've seen them get caught now. We've seen them get caught in their own bullshit, their own lies, and then you watch them complain like journalists have this kind of sense of entitlement that they shouldn't be allowed to be part of the machine, right? Like, but do you think that what we're seeing is just this extreme lack of respect for that industry because they've earned it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, they also get it from both ends. They get it from the because we're polarized, right? The left doesn't like them, the right doesn't like them. Right. And what media has done is, in my opinion, is they've said, OK, we're polarized. Which side are we going to try to cater to? Mm-hmm. And they've decided by and large to cater to the left. And so instead of actually.
Whoa. Hang on. Before you go on, I'm sorry. Did we not figure this out?
Go ahead, guy in the street interrupting me as I try.
I'm sorry.
Let him finish.
Hey,
let Jamesy finish. Let Jamesy finish.
Okay,
I want to hear the rest of it, and then you can shit on what he has to say. But
I'm not going to shit on it.
I'm sure you will.
I would actually enjoy it if you did.
So when I mainstream outlets have decided to cater to that, and when I say that, what I mean is, especially when it comes to social issues and things like that, there is basically one position. There is that the things that you see, the Twitter mobs online that you see when they attack people, and we off air were discussing this before about how a lot of that cult-like behavior comes from the left. It just does, right? And because people don't want to get destroyed if they have the wrong opinion. So the media are catering mostly to that crowd. Their sponsorships and things like that and their ads probably seem like they're conservative, but their content is decidedly left. And I think that what happens is that the media itself, when they deliver news in a way that seems catered instead of unearthed, people lose respect for it, even if they kind of agree with a lot of the narratives that they tend to put on for. So what they're doing is not actually being journalists anymore. They're like basically bingo callers.
Yeah, they're agents.
The news is given to them. They don't actually find
chaos.
it. Yeah.
They're agents of that. They're agents of a power center. I said it in a post today. They're just agents of a power center. That's what journalists are today in this country. If you work for Bell or Rogers, you are not a journalist. I know that you feel like you are doing a good job, and listen, I talked to like 7 people yesterday that either got fired by Bell yesterday.
When do we get their podcasts on the
their quotes
very soon.
Their quotes were interesting, actually. Their quotes that you put up were really good.
It was a fascinating exercise. So yesterday, I get a phone call first thing in the morning, and it's from somebody, I won't tell you who tipped me off that Bell was going to fire a bunch of people yesterday, people in specifically radio. And I think that's why they came, because they know that I don't specifically care for the industry that much anymore, or the people in it, to be honest with you, how it's being managed. So this person calls me, I hang up the phone. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens today. And then I start getting texts and phone calls. And in total, I talked to 7 people yesterday. I got about 15 to 20 different texts from people. Some who had left Bell on their own accord, some people who were fired by Bell yesterday. Bell Media, of course, owns the majority between Bell and Rogers. They own basically almost all the media in this country. And so the one thing that these guys said to me is, and I thought it was fascinating. They're like, what do we do now? Like, what we have no transferable skills. What do we do? How do we go from working for a media entity and under this umbrella and making all kinds of money to how do I do this on my own? How do I cut through? How do I get past what it is that they do? And you can't. That's the short-term answer, is that you will never, ever beat a group like Bell. You're never going to beat a group like Rogers. And because they own everything, one of the things that one of the guys said to me last night, I was chatting with him late last night. He lost his job just in Southern Ontario. Won't get into who it is, but he was part of the call. And what he said to me was like, and it was fascinating because he said, you know what they said to me is they said, what we want you to do is mind your P's and Q's on social media after today, because we may or may not hire you back.
Oh, fuck you.
You imagine?
What?
Did you fucking imagine?
Wow.
Let me get to some short strokes here.
That is the sleaziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, right?
This is from that happens.
Oh, dude, it happens all the time.
Almost,
this is from
our
the article that we put out. Broadcast Dialogue did a piece on this, so we borrowed some of the content. Connie Thiessen wrote this thanks to Broadcast Dialogue. They fired News Talk 1010 CFRB program director Mike Ben-Dixon, but he was also the national format director for News and Talk, so he was in charge of a multitude of radio stations. He's been there since 1998. They also got rid of Greg McDonald, who was in charge of creative commercials, writing commercials. Their production director named Jeff Kirkwood, another guy named Damon Papadopoulos. This is on top of a bunch of other firings that they did yesterday, which kind of flew under the radar because they didn't have the mantle that these guys had.
About
they
Jeff
didn't
McDonald?
make that kind of money. He's taking over TSN.
Okay,
so Jeff McDonald,
he's going to have to quit doing those midday voice tracks for 32 stations across the country.
Oh, is that what he does?
Probably not going to have time.
Probably won't. So Jeff McDonald now has to take care of TSN 1050, which is a very low-rated sports station in this town, and he's also going to look after 17 or 18 other radio stations. So what they've done is just gotten rid of salary and said, fuck, you figure it out. This is where it gets interesting. So the cuts continued, as Connie said, in January with a round of executive and middle management departures, 210 positions, if you remember that. That was in January, February. More recently, the company laid off 27, reclassified 22 other positions just at its Queen Street location. Wow. But here's the fucking rub.
Wow.
So all the guys I talked to that got fired yesterday were like, they told us it was for financial reasons. In the latest BC quarterly report, media segment revenue grew 14.5%. because of higher advertising spending across all platforms, 32% increase in digital revenue, which represents 22% of total media revenue. Media operating revenue also went up 14.5% in Q3 to $719 million.
Now we know why they can't talk on social media.
Driven by increased ad spending across TV, radio, out-of-home, and digital media platforms. The economy continues to recover from COVID. So they're using COVID and money as an excuse to get rid of these human beings. Meanwhile, they've never made more money in that segment. Never.
And they're
we are dealing with percentages, though, right? Like comparatively speaking to what we, as an industry, we're making in past years. We might be seeing those increases based on the decline from the first year of COVID. No,
yeah, I want to be 20% and went back up 14 kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not defending the firings. I'm just saying when you're looking at percentages, you got to make sure that you lift the hood on it and make sure
during a recovery. Then
and that was just that was just ad revenue, right? That wasn't total profit.
Bell as a whole. Ratings have gone down.
Revenue, right.
Ratings have taken. Bill has taken it in the hoop a bit on ratings, from what I've heard, and that could bring revenue down as well, right?
Yeah.
What I think they should do is fire more people, have less people there doing content, and I'm sure their ratings revenue will go up.
Yes, that's a great idea. Cut your way to profitability. Smart. Really
Who's
smart.
left in some of these radio stations? Like
nobody.
They're just
CFRB. So 1010 CFRB is like a legendary news station. They do not have anybody in their news department anymore.
Wow.
And let me just fire everybody. I don't even fucking know what they're doing. It doesn't. You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing by doing what they did yesterday? This is exactly what they're doing.
Sad.
They're telling everybody they don't give two fucks about radio. They don't care about radio.
Well, especially AM. AM's so fucking dead.
But don't you think they're going to have to do something a little creative eventually, like down the road, because these signals are still going to exist, right? And if these signals are not, like if the radio stations themselves and the channels are not profitable, aren't they going? And I said this before, but aren't they going to have to do something creative, like instead of it being like CFRB 1010 or whatever it is, it would be like Nike 1010. And then they can just play content like podcasts and they won't have to worry about ads. Aren't they going to have to do something like that to like change the model completely? Because
that's what they're trying to do. Like if you watched what Sportsnet did with The Fan, I don't talk about Sportsnet because they don't care about the survivors of sexual assault. So fuck them. But what they did with The Fan is they just started putting podcasts on in different day parts because no one gives a fuck anymore, right? They're like, hey, listen, it's an AM radio station. No one gives a shit. Doesn't matter. There's pre-produced content that you can just take and you can plug in and then you can cut it up and put your commercials in and all that stuff, which is actually a good idea if people actually gave a shit about what you were talking about and what you were doing. But the problem is that they've sewered themselves. The entire industry has sewered themselves because there's such a fucking terrible feeling. Like, as I'm talking to all these people yesterday, all of them said the same thing, which is like, this has been shit for like 3 years here. It's like, honest to God, it's like the fucking Hunger Games in this industry.
I've been hearing like from bits and pieces from friends that I have that work in buildings owned by these bigger companies. That the energy is just like it's so difficult to
like imagine Locke. What if one of your daughters came to you and said, you know what, I want to get into radio? What would you tell her?
My oldest, actually, we had a brief conversation about it, about the possibility, because
very brief.
Well, no. Here's what happened. She was offered a job to do weekends, and I kind of talked her out of it. I was like, "You'll be awesome at it, but I don't want you going down this path. I want you to concentrate on the film thing." And it was always her first love.
What was your reasoning? What was your reasoning for telling her not to get into radio?
You know,
was it just because of her passion, or was it because you knew there was nowhere for her to go?
Because it's a dying industry.
Right? Dead tech? Did you say dead tech?
No, I didn't say dead tech. It was. You guys are going to make. No, I don't want to say it all.
No, I want to know. No, I'm going to play you some. Lachlan's going to tell us music, and you're going to tell us exactly.
You know, they love you there at your station, dude, because of your honesty. Now go on, Lachlan.
And you're not owned by one of those big guys.
Why did you tell her? Look at his eyes. I feel sorry for him, kind of. Why did you tell her not to get into it?
Is that the move on face?
This is the quietest I've ever fucking heard him.
Wow. You're speechless, Lachlan. This is great. Mark this day on your calendar.
Hey-o.
Worlds are colliding, buddy.
Hey-o.
So I told her this because I did.
Sorry, the porn music.
Louder, please. A little louder. What did you say?
I'm not doing
it. Listen, I think if you were really good on the radio, you probably have a career.
My daughter would have been good on the radio, but she would have, and she wouldn't even have needed to go to school. She would have been fine. She would have been a little rough the first couple of weekends, and then she would have hit her groove. I would have worked with her. She would have been fine. And she could have even gone to Ontario and done a swing shift, and done that when she was going to school. The problem is that I wanted her to concentrate on school, and she was also working part-time at Earl's. And going in on a Saturday night and doing a shift in the lounge, she's walking out of there with $300-400 cash in her pocket.
Not doing that in radio on a weekend.
You're not doing that in radio. You're making $50 to do a 6-hour shift, right?
Seriously.
And it's just, you gotta love it. I told her, I said, I don't think you will love radio. You would be great at it. You're not going to love it.
Slave wages.
So don't waste your fucking time doing it.
On the riding lawnmower. He just did it because he loved it. He still had to mow the whole football field.
Yeah, and like all the town parks. Remember that? Yeah. I just love to mow the lawn.
Everybody in Alberta just didn't have to go to school for radio. Is that what it is? Or
my daughter didn't have to go to school for radio.
Jimmy didn't have to go to school.
Jimmy didn't have to go to school for radio because of what his role is. My daughter is, well, you saw her.
Yeah,
no, she needs to go to fucking school to learn how to talk on the radio.
No,
absolutely not. I went to school back 100 years ago to get into radio because you needed to actually get 2 years under your belt in BCIT or whatever in order to get a job in that's how you got your foot in the door, right? Mm-hmm. And now I don't necessarily think that that's the best path. That school also set me 2 years back because I had this idea in my head of how I needed to sound when I was on the radio. And the thing is honestly, you become good at this business when you figure out who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And you end up learning what your voice is. And if you're in your head about how you're supposed to sound, which is what they fucking do to you in radio school, or they did back in the day, you're supposed to sound and present yourself a certain way, you're fucked because then you're concentrating on that and you're not actually thinking about what it is that you're wanting to portray to the audience.
Yeah. And now it doesn't matter because Bell and Rogers doesn't give a shit about any of that anyway. They're just
zero.
The unfortunate thing, though, Ryan, is I think there are
the art is gone.
I think there are people in those buildings that actually still give a shit about the industry, and they are out there.
For sure.
Yeah, totally. There are a lot of people, because I had this conversation yesterday as well. There are a lot of people that still truly believe that if they get into radio, they're going to be allowed to be personalities and they're going to be allowed to share information that they find is funny instead of like a station liner or, hey, this is brought to you by Marineland who abuse animals and you should go to Marineland. Like it is a valueless, it is a futureless industry with no values.
Void of morals.
None. They don't care how many people they get to work for them for free.
I think there's still a lot of really good people in the broadcast industry.
There are. There's a ton of them.
I think there's a lot of people that are going into work every day, finding it more and more difficult to do the job that they wanted you to do based on the fact that they're running 12 stations.
Bingo.
When the media
or based on the fact that they're doing a morning show on like 5 stations and then voice tracking on 3 other stations. Like, I mean, you have people that are working in that industry that are working so hard for almost nothing, and there's no future in it. There's legitimately, if you just got into radio, there is no future in it. Traditional media, no future in it. Television, no future in it. Print, zero future. Because it's over. It's
I don't
just
think it's over. I
think
think what's going to happen is
it's over because
we haven't hit rock bottom yet.
All of those industries that Dean just described were propped up by a way of delivering advertisements that people don't want to put up with anymore. People watch sports on TV channels a lot less than they would, a lot less than they used to, because when they watch online, they don't have to deal with the ads. They can just watch commentary or that still shot of the field for 2 minutes as the rest of the world has to wait for the ads to finish, right? Like everything was built around it so badly. No, but I mean, like, if you watch it, would you ever watch a movie on television again? Like, no. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I could watch Goodfellas for, just to pick a movie out of the air on my computer, use my cord to put it on my TV and watch Goodfellas uninterrupted. Why would I ever go to TBS or some shit that's playing Goodfellas so it can last 5 hours?
I understand the argument about advertising, but I still think the problem with when I'm on this podcast, I got to remind myself is you guys are all in Toronto. And I think they have they've put a bullet in entertainment and content in that city and in that province as a whole. And I've heard it from more than just you guys. There are pockets of good radio happening across this country, and there's markets like Edmonton.
You're right, because I listen to you in the morning.
There's some really good shows, and there's a number of good morning shows in the Edmonton area.
But I think you're right. I'm not saying that the people that aren't delivering the content aren't good. I'm saying structure in which they deliver it is fucking them over. Because
James, it's not. You're not wrong. And the thing is they're the people in charge of making decisions that are going to move the dial, that are going to change things the way they are right now, are so consumed with managing up and handling way more than they actually should be, that their creative energy is being sucked out of them, right? So they go into work every day and all they're doing is just trying to keep these things on the air as opposed to trying to make them better and trying to think outside of the box.
Yeah, you touched on that yesterday.
We talked about this a couple days ago, you and I, where we were literally talking about there are people in that industry, traditional media industry, that work at Bell and Rogers that hold the keys to the fucking kingdom, that are doing the job to keep the job and to keep the paycheck and to keep the status. They're not doing the job to do a great fucking job on behalf of the people they're working for.
They don't have the resources, right? Their companies aren't making enough money.
Right. Oh, that's a lie.
That was a joke.
Dude.
Okay.
That's a lie.
I was trying to be funny.
It's a fucking lie.
Your deadpan sounded like truth.
Where do you get off telling me that $719 million in Q3 is not a lot of money? Dude, look at this. They're practically
I feel
going
so
broke.
bad for people who
practically going broke at Bell. Look at that. They Q3 they only made $719 million. That's just shy of a fucking $1 billion in 3 months, and their revenues are up like across the board, double digits. They're not.
How much?
It's not enough.
Not enough.
Did they do that thing again, Dean, where they took all the money that they saved from laying all those people off and gave it to their shareholders? Did they do that again?
Yeah, the COVID relief. How much did they take from that again?
$240 million.
That's it. Thank you.
This is
on
from
the
last
heels of
year.
that, didn't they shit can a bunch of people?
Yeah,
they did. Right around that time.
If you wonder, if you're one of those, if you're working at Bell and you're like, oh my God, they're savaging our company. Yesterday, CTV, Bell owns CTV. CTV PR followed me on Twitter after I tweeted out the story and talked about how fucking tragic it is. And I blocked them
immediately.
I was like, fuck you guys. Rogers, Bell, and Telus collected more than $240 million from Canada's wage subsidy program. Bell and Telus raised shareholder payouts.
How did they even qualify?
That's where that money went. Because they own media.
Because they're reporting losses on the radio sector.
And everybody owned. Yeah, everybody qualified.
Yeah, and you know what they did with that money? So I think, and I could be wrong. Don't quote me on the numbers, but I did a little quick math.
Shareholders.
Here's what they did. So when you get rid of a bunch of people, after they took that money, they fired 210 people. That money was meant to go and pay for those wages because they cried poor, right? They're like, we don't got no money. You got to pay. You got to help us pay these people. They took I'm going to say 110 million. Again, I'm not totally accurate about the numbers.
Buying them out.
And they put about 20 million towards buying everybody out, and then they pocketed 90.
It's because they're beholden to shareholders, right?
They're drug dealers.
That's part of the reason why. And what ends
That's a
up
good
happening,
analogy, actually.
Yeah.
What ends up
fascinating
happening
though, isn't it?
What ends up happening is the product suffers, and then eventually, I think I mentioned rock bottom. What I would like to see happen is I'd like to see them get to a point where they realize the only way to dig themselves out is to do one of two things. Start selling off the assets, or actually start investing in content, right? And something's gonna happen where that one of those two things starts happening, because we are at a point where, I mean, how many radio stations can one program director? Like, I've made that joke that there's
I know a guy that's a program director of 31 radio stations.
That's fucking insane. Like, how do you air check? How do you?
I was going to say air checking in the car.
Like, how do you?
Is it the same list? Is that why?
Talent
just one program director for 31, but all of them are identical.
No,
like
some. And so what they do is they consolidate formats in radio, right?
Yeah.
So like what they got rid of Bell got rid of a bunch of stations like last January, where they're like, we're going to turn all these shitty radio stations into a format called Pure Country. And so they get one guy and one girl to do the morning show across all those radio stations across the country, and none of it's applicable in certain markets because no one.
And then the ratings suffer.
And then the ratings tank, and they're like, we can't sell anything, so we need more money from the government. Then they get money from the government, and then they fire those people, and then they pocket the rest of the money, and they pay it out to Klaus, their German shareholder. Like that's legitimately what they do. It is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So James, one thing that they were doing with the music, it's funny you ask, because we actually just hired a guy that was working for one of these companies, and he was programming music from his home, like in his bedroom, for like 30 fucking radio stations. So he would get up every morning and do the logs, and then shit it out across the country.
I know a guy that does that for like 6, but he does the same. He just does the same playlist for all of them, just so he makes one playlist and just sends 6 emails. Right?
Yeah, so his job was basically to keep these radio stations on the air musically. There's no diversity at all. Like,
did he also do like the 2-minute news clip in the weather? Is that like, and that's all he did? Those 3 things?
I mean, I'm not going to get into like clocks and Music Master and all that shit.
Thank you.
But yeah, essentially he was programming. I think I might be exaggerating, but it was in the 20s, the number of stations that he was programming, and he had a couple of formats. I think he had like a adult hits and he did like a mix, which is like top 40, and I think.
And yet his job was probably still tough because he probably still had to cut all the ads for the local businesses, right? The same guy. Because don't they double up on those guys now? No. Triple.
Oh, they totally.
They give them music. So if you're a music director, they'll give you like 20 stations to direct music for. If you're a programmer, they'll give you 20 stations to program. If you're
everyone's
by the way,
everyone's
by the way,
this way.
All of those firings from Bell, all of those were big salary dumps. Like those are guys that actually made a little
middle management guys,
cheddar, middle management dudes, right? So what they do is they'll go and find a guy. So like Mike Ben Dixon, who was at CFRB for years, he was a program director, managed all of their news stations, all of them. They're
He's the one that fired Bullard.
Oh, he's fired a lot of my friends. Yeah. But what they do is they say, listen, Mike probably made more. Probably. They'll say to Mike, hey, listen, and this is, listen, have I talked to Mike this? I have not. He's one of the few people I haven't talked to because he's a pretty quiet guy and I think he's processing it. But what I can see is Mike probably made more than that Jeff McDonald guy. So they're like, hey, get the cheap guy to run all the other shit. And once again, case in point, there's a reason why Mike is as good as his job. And there's a reason why they had him do that job for so long, because he was the best in the country at it. So you just take the guy who's the best in the country at programming news stations, you put a sports guy in there who, voice tracks on weekends, and you're like, fuck, $40,000 a year, no problem. We just saved $250,000.
Christ.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Savage.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you said it. I think you said it last time we talked about this. The last time Bell did this, and which wasn't that long ago. And
just before Bell Let's Talk Day.
And you said that I guess you were speaking with somebody there, and they look at the radio stations as just free advertising for the cell phones and for like the cable shit.
Oh, dude, here's the thing: you could spend a year trying to re-engineer an entire industry, or you could raise people's cell phone bills by $5.
Yeah. And then use the radio that they're listening to in the car anyway, and they don't give a fuck what's on the radio because they're just driving.
They can get a new phone. Yeah.
Exactly. Here's your traffic report, and traffic today is sponsored by fucking Bell Mobility or whatever.
Do you guys find the timing?
Gigs of data yesterday.
Do you guys find the timing of what's happening with Bell and these layoffs, and then what's happening at the CRTC with that, like the story that came out last week about the CRTC really clamping down on
identifying
robocops.
And I'm just like, I don't know any like fine, we all don't like them, but does anyone put that in the top 20 of the list of things that you really need to fix it now? Like it feels like the CRTC makes decisions like that to make it seem like they're doing work for the people that they're beholden to. Like, why don't you make sure that they can't fucking gouge us with our cell phone bills before you start caring about robocalls? Like,
well, that would have been something that would have been on the table, but we put the fucking liberals back in power.
Remember, we had the TV volume thing too. Remember the volume?
Yeah, the volume.
The TV volume problem.
It gets too loud during commercials. Let's start a big campaign, and they're like, "Yeah, how about this?
A little wink to the seniors.
How about you go to the people that have licenses for radio stations? Because I don't know if you know this. You only got a license for a radio station if you committed to serving the community within that license's radius, right? So now that they're dualizing all this programming across the country, that doesn't exist. So how about the CRTC? Look at that. How about that?
Yeah, if it's still a statute in their own fucking laws, like why aren't we enforcing shit like that?
Because they don't fucking care about us, dude.
All I want is a no ass rape clause in my next cell phone contract. That's all I want.
I said this at the
good luck with that.
Thank you. Because they're coming for your bung piece.
They are.
I said this at the end of the article, and I'm going to move on to something else. Is give me an example of how Bell, Rogers, or Chorus are making the world around them and the industry they are privileged to serve and the people in it better. Can you think of one example? I can't.
No.
I can't. All they want you to do is think that they make the world a better place. They do not.
That's right.
You just say it. You just say that out loud, and apparently it's true.
I guess so. Speaking of making the world a better place, do you guys get a lot? Do you guys know who this dude is? Sven Bortzman.
It's my bud.
I muted him today.
I have him
He's my buddy. I love that guy.
So
he went from 21 followers when he first started harassing us. He's now up to 34. It's great.
34, yeah. So I did a little digging. Stan. I did a little digging. So you see something here, how it says underneath his name, joined October 2021.
Yeah.
And this guy's a Russian bot. Do you see how this guy, Dr. Bigsy in the Science Brigade, joined November 21st, and he's got 17 followers, and
I thought
everything
Sven was Chris Sky.
No, it's not.
I did at one point too.
You see that?
I really did.
Do you see when they join? And
yeah.
do you see? And if you go through, if you look, you get an account like that that's legitimately crazy. These guys, all they do all day is tweet all of us because we happen to be pro-vaccine. We happen to be pro-science, pro-common sense. So I did a little digging, and I had one of our hackers. Do we have hackers? Yes, we have several.
Maybe.
Had one of our hackers do a little.
It's not me.
Do a little. No, it's definitely not.
Definitely
you.
not Lachlan.
Do a little.
It might
dig.
be, but it's inadvertent if it's Lachlan.
So we did a little dig, and these guys are Russian bots. And I went through the litany of like identification processes, like the things you got to do to figure out who these fucking crackbots are. And I'm going to lay this out for everybody real quick because I know this is a problem. But if you want this stuff to end, and if you want these Russian dicks and some Chinese, mostly Russian trolls, what you have to do is two things. One, identify when they join Twitter. Two, check out the series of their posts. Then block them. That's legitimately all you have to do. And I bet you, if you do that, you'll have a much better time on social media because their entire goal, these guys all do it. And I was talking to our hacker friend. He said the entire goal of these guys, they originated, all of these addresses and IP addresses that these guys use originate in Moscow. All of them. And so what you have to do is you got to not interact with them whatsoever, which is fucking hard because these guys, are like that Sven guy, he won't stop.
It's so good.
Like it won't
and you're right,
stop.
though.
But you have to stop. Like you cannot interact with those guys. So when you think about it, gentlemen, when you see the crazy, date joined, substantive tweets, Blocksky, because they're all Russian. He told me like 90% of these guys are Russian. Blocksky? Yeah, not bad.
Nice. I've had a conscious conflict of conscience lately with this whole blocking thing.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a lot about it. So I'm trying to establish new rules for me moving forward. I was thinking about going through and unblocking everybody that I have blocked on social media right now and just sorting to see what kind of chaos would come out of it, if any. And I'm sort of readjusting my thought process there because, like I said, I had to block all of James P. White's family this week.
All of Tabor, the entire town of Tabor.
The entire town of Tabor has now been blocked by Lachlan Cross. But I'm enjoying these conversations because from it, I'm materializing a plan and a strategy moving forward for my social media. I do feel guilty when I block somebody, right? Because I used to think that I only blocked people who threatened me. But then I was looking at the list of hundreds of people I have blocked, and I'm like, I don't think all these people, I think they just annoyed me. Block, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't believe in muting because muting is too passive aggressive, in my opinion. I prefer to let people know that I fucking blocked them. And I want them to see that they can't respond on my shit anymore.
Because it is annoying. I have been blocked by several people. I know that's hard to believe. But like sometimes, and they're usually newsworthy people, right? And so sometimes one of these newsworthy people will do or say something, and I have to send a note to Ryan. I'm like, hey, can you, they blocked me.
Can you give me a screenshot, please?
That's happened quite a few times.
Literally on the daily, my fucking text goes off.
But I think that's your karma because you block a lot of people.
544 people. That's it. Yeah, that's all I have blocked. And the majority of them are these Russian bots who pretend like they're human beings.
Though, that we've created this?
No,
you know what? This is Twitter's fault.
Chamber?
No.
Twitter should find a way to to find an algorithm to like, what do they call that? Where you spider grab, dragnet, whatever the fuck it's called, where they can spot the bots and just remove them. Like, why can't
I thought
Twitter
that's what they were passing in Congress. They were supposed to be doing that.
I bet you Twitter would collapse. I bet you Twitter would collapse if they removed all the bots. I bet you 40% of
it happened once. It happened once a few years ago. I'll look it up and then we'll talk about it maybe tomorrow.
Trump was complaining.
We they did this a few years ago where a lot of people realized that they're fucking
massive
millions of followers.
That's right.
It was mostly farms. Like there was those click farms that they had in China that if you wanted to buy followers, you could send us $1,000 and you can have 1 million followers tomorrow.
On Instagram.
Yeah. So
what they did was
they should do that for this.
What they did was back then, I remember waking up and I knew and I won't say who they are, but they were a morning show in the city for a long time. And I remember one day they went from having 4,000 followers to having 270,000 followers. I'm like, fucking guys bought all that shit.
Wow.
And then I remember after that seeing the news, Twitter purges bots. Everybody loses all these followers. I think I lost 200. These guys lost 245,000 followers.
I lost
in one day.
When they did that purge, I went down. I was 35,000, something like that. And I had a lot of Mohammeds. And as soon as they did that, they gunned 6,000 followers for me.
I lost 4 followers.
Yeah.
What did you
I was going to say mine
I don't use
so
Twitter the same way that everyone else does. I was a late to the game Twitter guy. I used to forget that it existed. Dean, it wasn't until I started doing your show, the first time I did your show 2 years ago or whatever it was, when I started, Twitter. I started doing it. So all of my follows and all the people that follow me are more organic, really slow.
Yeah.
I think I've gained 300 followers in the last year or something like that. I don't really
out of the
care
gates
about that shit. But
I started following everybody that follows me back. So I must have been a prime target for those farms or whatever, right? Because I would just go through. I wouldn't look at it. I didn't.
You were a Twitter hoe.
And if anything weird showed up, weird, I'd block it, right? All of a sudden I got, huge dick on my, notifications.
So what's the difference between how you normally live?
There's no difference.
What you do.
The crazy part is that there are so many of those accounts. One troll operates close to 500 accounts. Right. And so that their job is to sit there and go through it. And one of the things that they managed to get through last week, I don't know if you saw this, where there was this rumor going around that the CEO of Pfizer, his wife died after getting the COVID shot. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
So these guys, this Sven Horstman dude and this Dickhead Brigade guy and hundreds of others, it just no, I'll get to it in a second. It just started flowing in and I started seeing it. And this showed up. How the wife of Pfizer CEO dies from complications of the vaccine. It was an exclusive from a company called Canadian Beaver, not necessarily a news story.
Beaver.
And they got it from these guys in Russia. And the whole idea was to kind of say, hey, the vaccine's so bad. The guy who owns the company that invented the Pfizer vaccine, Albert Bourla, his wife Miriam, died from the vaccine. Well, this is the actual article. This is fucking how it works. So they pay people this fucking ridiculous site called the Conservative Beaver to put out this article saying the wife of CEO Albert Bourla has died from complications of the COVID-19 vaccine early on Wednesday. According to her doctor, she passed away at some hospital. It's 100% untrue. This is them on November the 11th at a gala.
Yeah. But
that's where they killed her.
What is that adage though? If you release something and publish something,
set it
at
free.
least 10-15% of people will believe it forever, even if it
then you'll notice with this guy and the other guy, they do the same thing. They'll start it with you because they know that your followers are usually on your side about most things. So they'll wait until there's a good amount of people arguing, and then they'll start firing those articles in. Yeah. And then that's where that's where it starts, right? It doesn't start at the beginning.
This bullshit from the Conservative Beaver, it makes me laugh every time I say it. They put something out last week where they're like, the Pope's been arrested for having sex with young children. And I'm like, oh,
finally,
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
better than the liberal
up.
Beaver.
Finally got him.
Probably a lot more hairy. What beaver would be hairier? The Conservative Beaver or the liberal beaver?
Or
the
the
NDP beaver?
No, the liberal beaver. They're not doing any maintenance.
The NDP.
The green
NDP,
beaver.
oh, yeah.
The green
I think
beaver
the
would be the
NDP
one.
You guys remember that movie
the
Waiting
green
with Ryan
beaver.
Reynolds?
The green beaver.
That
It's the green
server
beaver.
in that movie, that woman,
They
she
ain't
was an
shaving
NDP,
nothing.
Oh,
for
she
sure.
had crumbs in her pubes. That was a
She
great
had
scene.
crumbs. She had like
Yeah.
a pickle piece or something, like just stuck in
Yeah.
there. Like, yeah, it was awful.
I gotta watch that.
Popcorn.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie. We were
Waiting?
just talking about
one of
that
the
movie
all-time
other day.
greatest movies ever made. And
For a good
you,
independent small
you
budget.
cannot make a movie like that.
What do they call
ever
them?
again.
Merkins. Those Merkins.
Yeah.
Merkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I want a little hair. I don't need a lot of hair, right? Like,
I don't want any hair. No hair.
Oh yeah.
well, you're an albino. You don't grow hair, so it
I
makes
don't
sense.
like hair. Not a hair guy. Bad for hair. James, you had a breakthrough. I just want to share with everybody as we switch gears. This morning I woke up, had a coffee, checked my DMs as I normally do. And in our DBS DM, which is our group DM, this appeared. Hope you don't mind me sharing your DM. Hey, lads. This is from James at 8:24 in the morning. Hey, lads. So I want to talk about the following on the show today. Brain buzzes or brain zaps. It's a symptom people have when they're coming off SSRIs and or E. It's exactly how it sounds. Your brain is trying to regulate serotonin and or dopamine levels to create sensation or a zap in your brain. I've had them for over 20 years. They come and go, but I can basically summon them or play with them. Hard to explain, but the point is that they're always here, and they've always been here for 20 years. Last night I took Ecuadorian mushrooms.
I think I need to fact check the Ecuadorian part of that, but I put the proper name later on, I think.
Okay, hang on. Basically, the
That's
most
what I was really hung up on. Where
too.
they're from.
Yeah. What place in South America are these exactly from?
How close
the
are these
most
to the
potent
equator?
mushrooms on the planet, James says. At one point, the brain zaps are constant, and I could amplify them. The strength of the mushrooms were such that the zaps were coming in sharper, more powerful than normal. Then I heard a cracking sound, crack, and the whole body sort of jumped, and the zaps stopped. I woke up this morning for the first time in forever. I no longer felt the zaps. I couldn't summon them or play with them at all. Then he says the shrooms were actually Panaleus shrooms.
Say it, James.
Whatever.
I don't know how to say it.
Me neither. and then he says, easy to dismiss or whatever with jokes, guys.
It's true.
And I'm fine with the jokes, but I am not some druggie who's convincing himself that this has happened. These zaps are gone for the first time since my 20s.
It's just funny because that'd be the first joke. Okay, druggie.
I'm not a druggie.
Can I let me give some inside baseball first?
No, hang on.
Okay,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
done.
Okay.
After he sends all those tweets, my mouth is open. I'm like, James has lost it.
No.
Yeah.
And I was
Not more
and
than
I
usual.
sat there and I thought, I'm not going to be the first person to shit all over this
Yep.
craziness. I'm going to wait for someone else. Sure enough, it happened. Lachlan types, were you ever abducted, James?
For the last time, no thank you, Lachlan.
You'll notice 1 minute later, I
Literally
jumped
puts
in.
a picture of a dude looking like, what the fuck? And then I put the old excuse me gif there and typed, quote, I was waiting for everyone else. So James has this massive emotional breakthrough, and we all just shit all over it. But
It was more
continue.
physical. It was more physical. It wasn't really emotional. It was more physical.
right.
Like, yeah.
Physical.
Like it was, well, whatever.
I
whatever
was
you call
so
brain
excited that I got to respond first.
We were waiting for you. We
You know what I was going to write the jokes that you guys should write because there was such like a 5-10 minute space or whatever it was. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to do the joke. What would Lachlan say? You know, and I was about to type all that shit out. So you just taking the wind out of your sails, but you know.
We
So,
shouldn't joke because I
No,
had
we
no
shouldn't.
idea this was a thing. But
It's a thing.
We should explain who's more Dean, I think you're better suited to explain what James is talking about here.
Okay, so let me just say this. You're 100% correct, James. I was on SSRIs, quit drinking, went to the doctor. He's like, we should probably give you something to get you to a point where you don't feel like stringing yourself up in the basement. I'm like, that'd be great, thanks.
That's a great idea, Dog.
yeah, it's a
I
really
like
good one.
Good place to be.
So I was on them for a significant SSRI it was called Prestique for anxiety and depression for 3 years. 3 years. When I told my
heavy
ex
dose?
to beat it, 150 milligrams, pretty big. Wow. When I told my ex to beat it, I decided that life was actually a lot better, and I thought I'm going to stop taking these. And unlike most people who go to the doctor, they're like, okay, wean yourself off, to go from 3 to 1, 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and then half a tablet, and then you should be good. I just quit taking them, which everybody says, don't do it. I had these brain zaps, or I call them head buzzes, for 4 straight months, to the point where I would get up from somewhere to walk and it would feel like I had a mini stroke. I'd go like this, like that.
Wow.
Dude, and it was all withdrawal, because your body's like, we need to make more serotonin. We got to get these levels up. So it shocks your system and it tries to release it little bits at a time. So it's a very, very fucking real thing. That's
why they tell you to wean off of this stuff and not just take yourself out cold turkey, right?
I'm a dude.
I was so happy to find out that you prioritized the joke over the having that in common with me. That was good.
Yeah, we didn't find that out until like right before the show. That was.
I'm just like, fuck, I'm gonna be all on my own. They're gonna just fucking give me a hard time the whole
fucking fair to Dean.
That's a great point. I'm sorry.
It was perfect. James started off at 8:24 this morning, pouring his heart out, and then at 3:04, Dean's like, "Yeah, I had that too." And then, oh, hey guys, let's go live.
Let's make fun of him first.
To be fair to Dean, I will defend Dean on this.
Okay,
because when I saw that,
I had the zaps for 20 something years. But
when I saw that, I was so excited. I almost wanted to start rolling tunes, because I was in the middle of the show. I was like, I have so much material here.
Yep.
Like, I might put Meatloaf on here and just go for a couple of minutes. So they were all waiting for me, James. That's what this is. It has nothing to do with whether or not Dean doesn't believe you or doesn't have some sort of sympathy/empathy for what
I was waiting for you too.
You just know you can't hold it back.
I was waiting for you too. I was just talking specifically about Dean. I'm playfully surprised that he didn't say, "Hey, I have that too, buddy."
I've never. Sorry, Ryan. Have you ever heard of these brain zaps?
I just actually had to look. I didn't even know what an SSRI was. I just looked it up now. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I had no fucking clue what that was.
I knew what that was.
I didn't know what that was, and I've never heard of this brain zap thing, and that's actually the name of it.
So it is fucked. Jamesy, take us through it. Take us through it, because listen, yes, did we make fun of you? Yes. Did we shit on you for it? Yes. The psychopathy, I find it incredibly entertaining. Should I have said, I got you, brother, I totally understand what you're going through? Yes. Did I do it? No. Would I do it again the same way?
Probably.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Because it's way more fun like this, right?
But the pattern's going to repeat itself, James.
Yeah, it's like male follicles.
And if you don't do it to me, I'll be very upset when I share a personal
exactly.
So can you do me a favor? Take me through when this started and how this, because it's a big I read your thing, but take us through the experience. So you down a bunch of mushrooms and boom.
Well, let me just start by saying that I put an article up that said this, but just to
it was really good.
So for some people, it's when they get off antidepressants, and for other people, idiots like me, it's because you did a stupid amount of ecstasy for a lot of years, like on a regular basis. And I think it probably happened when I started on a semi-regular basis snorting MDMA. And I was it's actually quite common. I mean, it's not great for you, but it's quite common. We'll just wait for you to cough, Lachlan. You're 288
James, you're the
years.
Fucking best. You are the greatest person on this show today. I love you, man.
I think I just pulled a muscle in my back.
Good. Yeah. That was that victory is mine.
You're having back zaps.
So yeah. But when I was in my I guess I would say from 25 to 28 or something like that was the really heavy years, and yeah. So one day after a binge of a week straight of doing literally every day, I woke up and I felt this in my head. And I was scared. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So
I did it.
Well, yeah, I broke it. So I went to the doctor and I asked my friend of mine's, he was a wealthy guy. His doctor dealt with the same thing for my friend. My friend had the same kind of thing happen. And so I talked to him and he's talking about serotonin levels that are depleted. They're trying to regulate and this and that. And they just kind of never went away. I did enough damage to myself that, they kind of never went away. Now, that doesn't mean that I was constantly suffering with these brain zaps every single moment of every day. But eventually you get to a point where you can kind of like, they become like a part of you. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but I could sort of like make them happen instead of just waiting.
This is where I thought you were weirded out today.
I know, but like,
I'm going to control
when something
this.
is with you for that long, you know what I mean? Like when you have anxiety, you know how like there's a way sometimes like people almost become comfortable with their anxiety, and there's a way some people have the ability, just the natural like know-how to be able to kind of make their symptoms of anxiety come because they will them to. Like
put reins on them, yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Like so you can make your stomach like nervous just by thinking about I'm going to make my stomach nervous. Like it's hard to explain, but that's the best way I can explain it. Anyways, fast forward, like so they stayed with me. I noticed that when I got dehydrated, they would come a lot. I noticed that if I got up too quickly, sometimes they would come a lot. For fuck's sakes, if I ever did blow, of course they would come, right? Like, and so then this morning or last night, and I just did like 6 grams of mushrooms last week, so I wasn't even scheduled to do more mushrooms until next week. But I just decided to do 4 grams of this shit because a friend of mine gave them to me, and he's like, "Dude, they'll send you to another galaxy."
And it was Wednesday yesterday, so why not?
What else are you gonna do in Killaloo?
Yeah, and you had the day off yesterday too.
I took that day.
It's all coming together.
Can I just say this, James?
Yeah, of course you can.
I find it the reason why it's so interesting to me is we're well aware of your drug exploits over the years. Mm-hmm. We're well aware that you have no problem experimenting with drugs. So when I read that this morning, the fact that something that you have that was induced by your drug use, now you've convinced yourself that more drugs is fixing the problem is entertaining to me.
Let him you can't compare snorting MDMA to mushrooms. Like you cannot put them in
psilocybin thing is a
mushrooms
really
like normal people do mushrooms.
Let him finish. Well, dude, we don't know that because we've never done mushrooms. So let him finish his story. Let Jamesy kind of get through it.
Okay, raise your hand if you've had 6 grams of mushrooms in a day. Raise your hand if you've had 10 grams of mushrooms in a week. Okay, like it's excessive.
Yeah, let him finish his story.
Right,
I love hearing the excess stories. I fucking love it. I'm with you, but I want the rest of the details. So go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so last night I took and they're right here. So that's what they look like.
Wow.
They're like tricolor. I can't remember. I don't know how to pronounce that shit. But you know. And I took I took them this time with like chocolate ice cream, so that I even had food in my stomach. Like it wasn't like and then I lied down in bed.
Have worked then.
I lied down in bed and I was like, I can't remember what I was reading. I was trying to edit. I was trying to edit my Bullard book.
You'll be thrilled.
That was my suggestion today when you said you had the most clarity you've had in 20. I was just going to say, start writing the Bullard books.
Well, I
can read it already.
I didn't edit any of it. I just started reading it, and I was reading it on my phone actually. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, and then all of a sudden, my peripheral was just like, vroom, 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 like it was just going nuts. And I looked up, and like the colors in the room had changed, like everything. And I was like, okay, like this is where outer space comes. And it just kept on intensifying and intensifying. And I'm never uncomfortable. So I was like, yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers, this is fun. And then I put the phone down and I just looked up at the ceiling and my brainwaves started to come. And I was like, oh, here they come. And then it was weird because they were really intense and I could sort of play with them and almost like they came every 2 seconds, like in a pattern. I was like, okay, that could have been like a drug-induced thought. But what ended up happening is that then a brainwave came and it was just really powerful. And I heard like a, and I kind of like my body jumped, like I got scared by someone tapping me on my shoulder or something, and I dropped my phone and shit. And the brainwaves stopped. And then 10 minutes later, I realized they didn't come back because when you're high like that, they are just kind of constantly there, even if they're just in the background slightly. And then an hour later and 2 hours later, and I felt like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, like more clear, like I was more balanced or something. My equilibrium or something was better. And I was like,
affect the high?
It almost killed it completely. That was the
really?
Weird thing. Yeah. And so then I went to sleep thinking, okay, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We'll see what happens when I wake up. And I woke up. Usually if I wake up and stand up really quickly, I easily, like 10 times out of 10, I'll get one. Totally gone. And I kept going throughout the day. I tried to trigger them with weed because that usually worked and totally gone. You know,
where'd you go?
Well, that's
most
the
people.
weird thing.
Most people.
See, if I was really fucked up,
malady,
if I was really fucked up, like Lachlan says, I'd be like, and then I realized that I lost my little buddy, Zappy's.
Yeah. My Zappy's
most
gone.
Most people would
this.
like,
Let's
you know,
have
when they
more
had a
drugs.
breakthrough, when they had a breakthrough like that, they're like, fuck, I'm fixed, I'm cured, the brain zaps are gone. This thing I've been dealing with for 20 years is terrible. I'm gonna take my new brain for a spin by smoking a ton of weed.
This
right
fire is slowly smoldering. Get me the gas.
Half a joint. It was a 5-gram joint. But
So
still.
Don't go changing, James. Do not
listen,
go changing.
never. But I want to say this. I don't not believe you. Like I legitimately believe because, and I'll tell you why. Two things.
He was too excited.
You were too excited. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Now 3 things. I'm talking to you now, and all the things that we've said to you and about you on this show for the past year would have ended in you telling one of us to shut the fuck up. And you're like having a great time with it. You're enjoying it. You've never, honest to God, you've never been more malleable in a podcast than you are right now.
That is weird that you say that because you're the third person to say that to me today. In a sense, like people are like I talked to somebody on the phone that I know really well, and
you should get your wife to come back home.
And she was like, "No, my brain isn't that messed up." Just kidding. There's a joke. Yeah. I'm a sitcom husband now, guys. This is what we do.
All right, Phil.
Yeah.
No, but like, so the buzzes are gone. You got nothing right now. You haven't had them since last night.
No, I have a bit of a headache, and like it's weird. I wonder, like I'm theorizing all these stupid things in my head.
Might
like
be
maybe
all the
the brain
drugs.
zap is, maybe.
Don't try to make it come back though. Like, don't dehydrate yourself. Don't.
Hey, Ryan, let him do his thing. Okay, you want?
I was gonna say, you know what?
We want good content. So
you know what? Always
resets. Brain zaps.
We
that's
need
my problem.
snorting MDA.
What always resets things is a good night's sleep. So let's see what happens tomorrow. I don't know.
I'm good.
They're gone now.
Yeah, fucking living it, enjoying
maybe
it.
They'll come back. I don't know, but like it was hearing the crack and jumping, like getting like legitimately like startled for a second because of the sound of at the end of that wave. It just crashed into this crack, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Like it was, I don't know. Like, you ever heard about that girl that there's a like sort of like famous among experimental doctor circles or whatever you want to call it. Like, I think it was the Mayo Clinic. They analyzed this person. Anyways, this girl was like bipolar, and she tried to commit suicide by eating like an ungodly amount of mushrooms, like an ounce or some stupid shit like that. And she had to go to the hospital, and she was there for like 3 days, and she was like on the far extreme spectrum of bipolar, of having like she was always kind of like violent and manic and hypomanic and all this stuff, like a textbook case. And she ate all those shrooms, and she went to the hospital, and she was there for like 3 days, and then she finally sort of started to normalize. That was like 12 years ago or something like that, and she's never had another episode of being bipolar since. Like, she's never been manic. She's never had
I have heard about that case.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I thought of stuff like that, and then maybe this is a very small version of that or something. Like, maybe it's
just something that is severe.
Psilocybin might be the magic fairy dust we're waiting for.
I don't think you should minimize what you've gone through. I think.
We'll leave that to you, Lachlan.
No.
Yeah, leave that to us. But you call the pros and tell them what happened so that they can get on the books.
I don't like to let you guys down. And I knew you were all waiting for me to to respond to James's.
When I saw that tweet
Eureka
this morning,
moment.
I was shocked because it was like 8:00 in the morning, and I'm like, Lachlan hasn't said a fucking word to this guy yet.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't see it. I was doing a show. He sent it while I was on the air.
I agree with you. I don't think James. I think it's awesome. Like, I mean, we're joking around about it and having some fun with it, but like, and I'm no Joe Rogan fan, but the fact that you unabashedly talk about this is cool. The fact that you've had a wonderful experience and the psilocybin, and I was talking to a buddy of mine about it actually this morning after I got the text. I'm like, hey, does this happen? He goes, bro, the reconnection in the human brain that happens when you use hallucinogenics like that is, he says, it's like a fucking it's like an avalanche of neuroconnectors kind of touching base again that haven't touched base for a long time. So I think you probably fucked yourself with drugs for 20 years and you found your way out with drugs. Like, I mean,
you woke them up.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You've refucked yourself.
Really, it's
I think it's great. I really
I think so too.
I hope so. And you guys at least know that I'm not one of those people like,
no.
First of all,
you're not a woo guy.
I'm not
a woo guy.
I do not believe that I can like heal myself with my mind necessarily.
He did say he was going to try some mind bending spoon shit.
No, telekinesis. I watched that movie Lucy. After this happened, I watched it today. I was like, I need to watch a brain movie. So I Googled what are movies about the brain activity, and Lucy came up with Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman. So I watched that.
Actually, not a bad movie.
It's not bad, but
Scary,
I don't know. I forget now what we were talking about, but
we were just talking about how it's fucking cool that you treated yourself to a handful of mushrooms and they cured your fucking brain maybe last night. Like there is very serious. What did he just say?
I don't know, Ryan. When you were just saying something before I went on that Lucy thing, but I don't remember what it was. But I was trying to comment on that.
Here's the thing. Here's the takeaway for me with respect to what you're going through. Obviously, I mean, we are nowhere near understanding the power of the brain. I mean, and as much as it is fun to make fun of you, James, I think I think we all know that you would not have done what you did this morning and be talking about it right now if something significant didn't happen to you. I hope they don't come back.
I hope they don't come back.
All of us believed you. It doesn't negate the fact that we need to make fun of you, though.
Yeah,
it is funny.
I would make fun of me too, and the thing is that I never actually thought that you guys wouldn't believe me.
Good.
Like I thought,
that's what we were saying about
the low hanging fruit joke was there. I spotlighted for you. I gave it to you on a platter.
And to be honest, you added this precursor to the DM saying it's easy to dismiss with whatever jokes or whatever you guys are gonna. I'm fine with your jokes. I know the jokes are coming, but I want to talk about it. So I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah,
and that's what that's what we were saying earlier that we forgot was the fact that we know you're not a QAnon fucking weirdo woo conspiracy bullshit guy. So when something like this happens, it is kind of significant.
Awesome. And the telekinesis thing. That's what I was talking about. I was because I just
explain why James has that.
No,
but he'll be able to manipulate.
Just quickly, when I was young, when I was going to raise, there was these pocket of girls that would walk around. They didn't even know each other, I don't think. But there was always one or two girls at a party that would walk around with like really fucked up on ecstasy, holding a pendulum. And they were convincing themselves and trying to convince others that they could move the pendulum with their mind. And I was always like, kind of like not fascinated. I was like, how the fuck? Why would you ever think that? And then, when you're sober, you're thinking like, what a fucking clown. And then when I was high, I'd be like, well, I still think she's a clown, but what if? And then my my adventurous spirit kicks in, and I'm like, that'd be really interesting to see if she really could, and she never could. And then I try, and of course I never could. But what the interesting thing about the brain is that like that's the kind of thing that it's like being able to manipulate molecules or the cellular activity of an object using like energy waves is what they think. This like it's science fiction right now, but it's what they think would happen if we were able to tap into the other 90% of our brain.
Yeah, if you started spilling that shit this morning, it would have been on fucking game.
Oh, for sure. Imagine that. Imagine I opened with that. Anyways, guys, I think I'm on my way to telekinesis.
Probably would have driven up to Killaloo and with a jacket that wraps around your back and then ties up.
I called a friend that said, my friend's a little touched
now. Put you in a padded room.
Jackets
wife model.
Really long sleeves.
8:47
straps.
8:47 a.m.
Because I got alligator arms, so I'd find a way to slither. Just kind of.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, glad you're well. I really am. I think it's awesome. Good for you. Doesn't bug me.
It was really
at all.
cool.
I think it's good. Yeah. And like I
it
said, I
doesn't
mean,
make you
it's
less
noticeable.
annoying.
It does. I think he's a million times less annoying today than he was last week.
You guys fictionalized me a little bit though, because I was watching the show the other day, the one that I got bumped for Bonzi's balls. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
And you're like, someone said something like, just people. Oh, Dean, you're like, oh, I have people calling me and they're whining to me about their problems. And he's like, Jamesy is the worst. He literally said Jamesy is the worst.
I was the one making fun of Locke.
And the funny thing is that the funny thing is that I remember, I know that I've had conversations with you like about like my marriage and about Well, really, mostly that, and you've been very forthright, very helpful, and
he is
and I
very
was
helpful.
like, yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, but then I looked at my phone and I'm like, I've only called this man like 6 times in the last 5 weeks.
He did. He shared his phone log with us in the chat last night.
I did,
it was great
because I was like, because I always get the one thing that still annoys me, it will probably annoy me for the rest of my life, is when people say really good jokes about someone, but the substance of the joke isn't true at all.
Isn't true.
And so the audience is like, fucking Jamesy.
I'll defend Dean. It probably feels like you call every day.
Like I would talk to this Jamesy all day long.
Yeah.
I really would. Like it is a noticeable difference in your demeanor. And
I like Manic Jamesy too, though. I mean,
I've had
too,
Manic
but I love
call
this
me
guy a couple of times, and I'm okay with it 100%.
Yeah, me too. Oh, he's the fucking best. Yeah.
I feel like that guy that thought that, Lachlan, are you mad at me? Is like so many million miles away from me right now. Like, honestly, I do. And that was what, like Tuesday? Whatever that was.
Last week. Yeah.
Keep this up.
Or when you intervene, when you guys had your little Bonzi intervention yesterday night, I was like, I was sitting there going, why does this seem familiar to me? And then I was like, this was me like 8 months ago with you and Dean doing the exact same thing, being like, James, you know what your problem is? Your problem is that you take things a little too seriously, especially yourself. You know, like it was a lot of that. And I was like, yeah.
That's usually
that guy seems like
that's usually on the eve of a show where you pissed us all off, or we told you to fuck off, or Gene said, well, you don't have to come on the goddamn fucking podcast. There's usually something like that. And the next day you come on, there was a day I remember when Gene told you, well, you don't have to be on here, you dick.
I remember one that was in the middle of the podcast. Yeah, you were like,
he knows he needs me.
Yeah, but there was one point, and Lachlan, what he's saying, there's a point, and it was like a few months ago, where people were talking, and you started screaming and yelling at everybody to hold on, because you had something to say, and it was in the middle of something Lachlan was talking about.
No,
and you're like, hold on, and I'm like, oh fuck, here we go.
What happened
that
was
guy's
I was
dead.
stopping Lachlan from interrupting me, because sometimes Lachlan will interrupt and he'll stop if you keep on going, but sometimes he won't.
You're right.
And usually your job to make good content at that point as the person who was interrupted is to just stop. And that time I was like, fuck that, I'm gonna keep going. And we both kept going, and I just increased my volume, and now I can't even imagine doing that at all. Like, why would I do that?
I love this James.
I really don't
love this
understand
James.
I'll get tired of him soon.
Happy James? No. You got to encourage this. He needs to do all the shrooms.
No.
tonight.
This is good. This is all good.
I think I should only do the podcast while high on shrooms from now on.
I think you should too. Anyway,
everybody here done shrooms? I've never done shrooms.
Me neither.
I've done acid. I've never done shrooms.
Never done shrooms.
You've never done shrooms, Dean? Really?
No, never.
Remember we were going to do the fucking. We should do it.
I'll do them.
New Year's shrooms podcast. Come on.
No, I do stuff with my kids on New Year's. I can't be fucking all hemped up on shrooms.
Not shrooms.
Hey guys, can someone drive?
I have no desire. I don't know why.
I've heard so many great stories about it. That has to be something that we do. It has to be something that we try.
Okay,
and listening to James,
I will do it.
I don't have any hangups now, so I'm good. Like I don't feel the need to get out of my skin. I don't feel the need to change my mood. I don't feel the need to be higher. I really don't. But I'll do it because I know that there's like a legitimate neuroscientific benefit for it. And seeing Jamesy, I'm like, fucking get it on.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
And you don't have to do 6 grams. You can pussy out and do 2 if you want.
Yeah, I will.
2?
Even people were warning me.
Somebody that's never done it.
2
yeah,
grams?
like
yes.
Is it okay?
I don't want to explain this again. Of course, it's all a mental game. It's all if you go in nervous, you're gonna have a trip that's not very fun.
Ryan,
if you go in thinking, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna ride this fucking beast.
Everybody, I had 30 people. We did this podcast a couple months back. I don't know if you were on it. We were going to do a shrooms podcast, and
I remember that story. I don't think I was on yet.
James, he was trying to convince us all that we needed to do a fistful and do a Saturday or something like that. And I must have had 30 people after the podcast contact me and go, don't fucking do more than 2. And 2's going to be ridiculous for a first timer. You should just do 1. And like I had a lot of people, and because we did it on James. The air. Yeah.
I'm with James.
You got to make it count.
Yeah. And just
We're all
know
coming to
that
Dean's
that's the
house.
experience, right?
We're all going to Dean's house. I'm bringing shrooms to your house this weekend, actually, but they're not the right kind of shrooms.
Fuck, I got.
Well, bring the
FOMO.
right kind. Bring the right kind. Yeah, because this weekend, I don't want to say too much about it.
Okay.
And I know we got to go, but this weekend we're doing a fat guy party. Me and Ryan.
Yeah.
God damn it, I want to be.
I'm not so fat anymore. Ryan's not so fat anymore, but we're going to treat our bodies like we're fat again on Saturday. Can you give everybody the menu, Ryan, that you're preparing?
Yes.
That'd be great.
I don't know if I want to hear this.
There's some menu music.
Yeah, you're not going to be here. Here's some music for you.
Bitch, I don't know
fat
if
guy
I want to
music.
hear this.
You'll
So
love it.
protein is going to be. We're going to do like a pulled pork shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it in like a Carolina vinegar sauce.
Yes.
And then we're going to get little boofs, like little pork candy boofs.
Oh,
It's just uncured pork belly that's cut into little squares. And it's slow cooked to the point where the fat just liquefies, but it has like a little crust on the outside.
You son of a bitch.
And when you eat it, it just explodes all over. Like you need a napkin to eat these things. It's fucked, right? And we're going to have stuffed mushroom caps.
Yes.
Roasted red pepper,
Yeah.
garlic, cheese. We're going to get some really nice fancy cheese.
You make it sound so sensual. You're like, it explodes in your mouth and you need tissues.
That's right.
Guys, I'm hard right now just listening to him.
I am filling.
So that's all I'm prepping. But Ashley, who can't make it because she's got to work on Saturday, Ashley is sending a care package of jalapeno cheddar bacon cornbread. So it's got jalapeno cheddar. It's got like the bacon strips like sticking out of it.
Fuck.
And she's also making, because Dean was so hung up on that Reese peanut butter pie.
That's right.
She's making one from scratch.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So
aren't you guys kind of glad that James did that whole thing where I sandbagged that whole thing? Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
Look at me. Like I'm a producer even when I don't want to be a producer. Look at that.
You guys
we took your drug segment and we went into the munchies.
Yeah. You guys need to roll tape on this. We talked about it earlier. I think you guys and just have one of your cameras rolling while you're just debaucher, like this total debauchery in Dean's kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat, like I told you guys I had 11,000 calories about a year ago in one day. I plan on doing as much damage to my insides as I can this weekend. Yeah. Like I'm not. And I've encouraged Ryan to drink. I imagine we're going to have a couple of nice indica products there as well. But if there are mushrooms, I don't see why we don't do those too.
I feel no. We're just going to do the normal mushrooms. The ones that I got to go home at some point.
Like cremini.
Go home the next day. Just stay here. I live on my own. There isn't like the person that I used to live with. She won't come downstairs and go.
No.
Who the fuck is this guy?
You guys got to break your shroom cherry at the same time on this podcast when we all do them together.
I kind of agree with Ryan. I think we do need to do that shroom podcast. We'll find it. Okay. We'll find a time. We do need a shaman though, like somebody to guide us through this whole thing.
James. It'll be James.
James,
yeah, I don't.
I will do 6 grams of mushrooms and be more coherent than you on your little fucking tube or whatever.
Well, yeah, you did the voting night podcast on 6 grams. You were fine. You couldn't look at us in the face, but you were okay.
I was against my bed, like.
Yeah, dude. There was one point I took a picture of it. There's one point where you were so ripped during our election night podcast. This is how you were podcasting.
It was so good. But everything that came out of his mouth was not slurred, and it was it was very coherent. Yeah, it was. If the liberals just did this,
so it was like this. So the liberals seem to be behind by 16.2 points, and the conservatives are winning.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Well, and he was sweating like a rapist too. He just had
brings me back to my rapist days.
How much?
Sorry about that, Lachlan. Again.
Anyway, guys, thanks for doing this. It's great. We learned a lot today. I think we learned a lot about media. We learned about shrooms. We learned about IDing Russian trolls. I think we did a great job today. Great job, guys.
I think it was. I think it was a good time. I'm going to set this stuff up downstairs tomorrow. I'm going to put it in the garage so I'll have the smokers going tomorrow. Maybe I'll do the podcast from the garage.
I have an idea for your show, Lachlan, before we go, your radio show.
Okay.
You should have a fake product. You should create a product called My Diaper, made from the My Pillow guy for Trump.
That's not a bad idea. I like
you
it.
make it out of old My Pillows.
Can I give the show a plug?
Please.
Dean. So tomorrow on the show, we're bringing little Jimmy in early. Like we're going to set up, and he is going to, you know, that those videos that everybody was doing during the pandemic, during the lockdown, where they were like bouncing a ping pong ball and it would hit one pan and go bloop, 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 bloop. So, and then we've got this thing set up at the bottom of the stairs. You'll have to tune in to find out what, and it's got to go down into that receptacle. And so we've given him 3 hours. He gets to start at 6 and he has to go till 9.
There's more eggs.
Can I ask you?
There's more eggs.
Is the receptacle?
What I went through with this fucking egg thing, I'm not fucking. That was Grant's idea. He says the end of every one of these videos, we should just pelt him with eggs.
Or just use the same one as like the signature outro,
right? So he's going to try to do that tomorrow. That's
Love it.
Yeah. Right. So that's the setup for tomorrow's. The locker room tries to go viral.
Again, Locker Room tries to go viral, 95.7 Cruise FM. You can join them online. You can listen to it. It's a great morning show. It's the best one in the country, if you ask me. It really, really is.
That means a lot.
I agree.
Well, you're allowed to do shit because you're not in Toronto. Or like the CEO of a company comes in and is like, I heard Lachlan say poo poo pee pee.
It's at least a top 10 podcast or radio show, that 92.7 show that you got going on.
Yeah, 96.4 is fantastic.
92.5 Calgary. Lachlan.
We're online. Just fucking stream us like everybody else does.
James DeFiore, Blackballed the Podcast is where you can find him anytime and all the time at James DeFiore on Twitter. And if you got some shrooms questions, I'm sure he'll answer them. You can go to blackballmedia.ca for everything James does as well. Thanks for being here, brother. Great to see you. And legitimately, the best you've ever been was today. Fucking great doing a show with you today. Appreciate it.
That's exaggerating a bit, but
no,
shut up, Lachlan.
Fucking awesome today.
Ryan
Lindley from the Shepherd Podcast, wherever you get your fine podcasts, and of course Ryan Lindley on Twitter. Follow him because he's going to be posting a bunch of pictures of us turning into just a couple of degenerate fat guys this weekend.
So good.
Oh, I'm so.
We got to get some like white shitty shirts. I'll bring t-shirts.
Wife beaters.
Yeah,
like the dad. Remember what's his face in Natural Born Killers?
Yes.
I can't get no respect. That guy. When
Anyway,
thanks for me. You'd still be slinging hash and fucking your boss. Anyways,
appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You guys are all fucking amazing.
Great
Love you, buddy.
See you guys.
Lachlan Cross, Ryan Lindley, James DeFiore. That is it. That is it for us. I gotta pee like a racehorse. Lindley, you popped back in. Did you want to say something before I go?
No, I was trying to leave and you kicked me out too fast, and now we're back, and I'm going to hold you back from peeing. So
no worries.
I'm going to leave.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye. We got like a green room on the side, and so you see guys popping in and out, so you put them on if they're still here. It's a tech issue. Don't worry about it. Anyway, thanks. And thank you for staying here this whole time. Appreciate it. Don't forget to leave us a nice review wherever you do the reviews. That'd be great. Balance out all the shit. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube, where you can see all these podcasts live, including some of the video assets that we use. You go to YouTube, Dean Blundell Show. Our friends at Twitch have been really good to us as well. You go to Dean Blundell TV on Twitch, I believe, is where you can follow us. So check that shit out. Also, iTunes, Spotify, etc., Apple Podcasts, The Dean Blundell Show. Super simple to follow. Thanks to our friends at Easy Auto Financial again. Easy Auto Financial, helping you get into a car. No obligation whatsoever. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Again, financing, free. They'll take care of all the details. It's turnkey. Don't be an idiot. You want to take all the guesswork and all the bullshit out of buying a car? EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Domination.com, our partner when it comes to producing content. It's artificial intelligence for people that game, stream, whatnot, to produce promos. Takes hours, not with these guys. Takes minutes. Go and try them today for free. DMNTN.com. Again, DMNTN.com. Ed's Fine Imports. Hey, Ed. See you soon. Got to come in and get another pair of pants. I just got some 34 Heritage jeans. Lost a little bit of weight. Need to have them taken in. And then I got to buy some more. Stretchy jeans. He does everything there. He's got an incredible selection of clothing for men and boys, and he's got his own branded underwear called Gitch, Gitch. Gitch3 is your promo code. Order online. He'll send you 4 for the price of 3 when you use promo code Gitch3, Canada's best luxury branded underwear with the pouch in the front. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye.